Oh, well, hi, how are you doing? Welcome to my kitchen. So, since you're here, why don't we make some cookies? So, what kind of cookies should we make? I was looking through the recipe books and my mom's recipes and my old recipes that I've collected over the years, trying to find a cookie recipe. And I've run across one. It's called M&M New York cookies. And I've never made them before, but they were a little different than any cookie I've ever made and thought it'd be interesting to give it a try. Now, I'm probably being really, really brave here by trying it with you all, but in all actuality, if they don't turn out, you'll never know about it. So if you're seeing this video today, that means they turned out and they were good and they were worth sharing with you. So hang in there. I'm going to gather up my ingredients and then we're going to get started. Okay, first things first. The recipe says that you need 2 sticks of very cold cubed butter. So I'm going to get some butter, get that cubed up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Well, maybe it was fate when you walked in the door. I could have sworn I've seen your face before. So glad that you said hi, because I was way too shy. I have my 2 sticks of very cold butter cubed up, and I'm going to add that straight into the mixer. Before. So glad that you said hi, because I was way too shy. What would have happened if you just had that? Now that we've got the very cold butter cubes in the mixer, we're going to add the sugar in there with it. Now the sugar is 3/4 cups of brown sugar and then 3/4 cups of white granulated sugar. Usually in a cookie recipe, they'll add brown sugar, so that gives that kind of caramel flavor in the cookie. And then, of course, the white sugar just adds to the sweetness and it also dissolves easily in a cookie mix. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get that sugar added in here with the butter. We're just going to dump those right in. And then we're going to turn this mixer on low and let it mix those around. Now we only want to let these mix until they are kind of just buttery, sugary nuggets. Okay. Also, I would like to take just a minute here to thank everyone for coming back and watching another one of my videos, and also anyone that's new. Now, I know I've gotten a few new ones, and I also have quite a few that are watching that aren't subscribed. And I would just love it if you would take a moment to just hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost a thing, and it really helps me, supports my channel. And if you wouldn't mind to do that, I would appreciate it so very much. Now that all that's been said, let's get on to these cookies. Now, the next thing that it says to do is to add in your M&Ms. Now, the M&Ms are supposed to be 3/4 cups, shy of a few, but 3/4 cups of M&Ms, and we're going to put those right on in with that butter and sugar mixture. And then also it calls for 3/4 cups of white chocolate chips and 3/4 cups of milk chocolate chips, semi-sweet milk chocolate chips. And we're going to add those on into the mixture. And then we're going to mix those around. First, let's lock our mixer and then let's mix them around. And we just want to mix that a little bit until they're all well combined. These are going to be very chocolatey chocolate chips, and I'm not complaining. So anyway, the next step is going to be our dry ingredients, and that's going to be 4 cups of regular all-purpose flour, also 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of salt. And you're going to add those together, and then we're going to give those a good mix around. And that's because we want to mix it as much as we can outside of the batter so that the batter doesn't have to overmix. So we're going to get that mixed around really well here in this flour, and then we're going to add that to our mixer. So we are going to add this dry ingredients to the mixer. Just going to dump it all in at once. And this time we're going to make sure that our mixer is locked. And I almost unlocked it instead of locked it. And then on low, we're just going to give it a little mix around until it comes to a breadcrumb texture. So let's take a look here. Looks like the breadcrumb texture has been achieved. And that we obviously have the chunks of chocolate and the M&Ms, and then we still have some chunks of butter, and that's what we want. Now that we've got that to the breadcrumb mixture, we have to have something to bind that together. So what we're going to add next are 2 eggs. Now you're going to want to put these eggs into a separate container, and just like with the flour mixture, you're going to combine these eggs together, mix them up real well before we add that to the mixture. Okay, once we have these eggs mixed together real well, we're going to add them to the mixture and give them a good mix. Make sure that I'm locked in. Turn this on low, and then slowly add in those eggs. Now again, we don't want to overmix this, but we're going to let this mix together until at least all of the flour mixture has been moistened by the egg. Now it's not going to be completely mixed together like a dough. Once we get this combined and all of the flour mixture is moist, it's not a dough, it's still crumbly. You're going to prepare your baking sheet, and you're going to line that with either parchment paper or a silicone mat like I'm using. And then we're going to remove this bowl from the mixer, and then we're going to get our hands involved. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in here and mix this around. Just make sure it all seems like it's well combined. Just kind of check it. Again, you're still going to have chunks of butter, and that's what's going to make the cookie be that moist, pull apart, very good gooey cookie with those chunks of butter still in there. And then what you're going to do, I want to make bigger cookies, and that's just totally up to you. You know, what you like, what your preference is. But you're going to reach in here, grab about however much that you think you want, and then squeeze it together and make a ball. And it does stick together real well. It's done nicely. So then you take the balls, you're going to lay them on your cookie sheet, and you're going to continue until you have all of them made.
Well, maybe it was fate when you walked in the door. I could have sworn I've seen your face before. So glad that you said hi, 'cause I was way too shy. What would have happened if you just had passed me by the night? We keep on drinking, keep on wishing.
Once you have all your balls made, then the recipe says to place it in the freezer overnight or at least 2 hours. So I'm going to put these in the freezer. It does say that you can move them into a Tupperware bowl if that's the way you want to freeze them. Totally up to you. I'm going to just set mine up in the freezer like this. It'll make between 18 and 24 cookies. Just depends on how big you want your balls, how big you want your cookies. You could make more probably if you want them smaller. I prefer mine bigger. But I'm going to set these up in the freezer for at least 2 hours. Probably have them, bake them tonight for supper. So I think I'm going to put mine in the freezer for now for about 2 hours. And then I'm going to put a chicken in the crock pot, and about supper time when that's ready, then I'll get these out and stick them in the oven. So I'll be back when they are ready to go in the oven. While those cookies are in the freezer and they need to be in there for a couple of hours, I thought I would go ahead and put a chicken in the crock pot, get that going for supper tonight. It'll also be plenty left over for lunches the rest of the week. So all I'm going to do, very simple, is I'm going to put a little butter in the cavities, just a chunk of salted butter in the cavities, and just kind of like what I would do a turkey. I just like that butter flavor, and if there's room in there, I'm going to stick that chunk of butter in there. And then I'm going to just salt, pepper, and a little garlic powder, and then I'll add a little bit of water to the crock pot once I get it in there. Okay, I've got that chicken added to the crock pot. I did put a little bit of onion flakes on top and then another little slice of butter to the top of it. And I just want to add in just a little bit of water, just so it has give it some moisture while it's cooking. Doesn't take much, just a little. And then I'm going to put the lid on that and leave it in there. I've got it on high, and hopefully it'll be ready around 6, 7 o'clock this evening. Okay, I'm back. It's been about 2.5 hours since I put those dough balls in the freezer. And while they were in there, I was doing some reading on the recipe that I have. It's just kind of a clipping out of the magazine. And I was reading through some of the instructions and the little extra stuff they had on there. And they were recommending that you take your cookie sheet, put it in the oven while it's preheating so that it warms up, and then put your frozen dough balls on there to kind of give them a crisp bottom. I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 350. I'm going to put my cookie sheet in there and let that warm up while the oven is preheating, and then we'll get the dough balls on there and see how they turn out. I'm so happy. I was in a room. Oh my goodness. You know what? Maybe taking a week off wasn't a bad idea. Okay? I think it's fun to see. But I was like, I have a video that I want to get home. Like, I have work to do. Oh, next round. That's very good. I don't want to push it. I want to push my button. Next time.
Well, maybe it was fate when you walked in the door. I could have sworn I've seen your face before. So glad that you said hi, 'cause I was way too shy. What would have happened if you just had passed me by the night we